And one. Hello and welcome to another Duttles cast. This week we're actually going to be going through the Chobo Team League matches between Formless Bearsloths and BornGosu. If you're unfamiliar with Chobo Team League, it's actually a really cool league that allows people who aren't professional StarCraft players to play in a competitive scene. So just because you're silver or you're gold and you think that you're better than most gold, that sort of thing, you want to play competitively and play in tournaments, things like that. This gives players an option and a community to do those sort of things in. It's really great. I'm going to provide a link in the description to it if you are interested in that sort of gameplay. I would definitely recommend signing up. I'm personally in Formless Bearsloths, so maybe a little biased in these. But without any further ado, let's dive into our first matchup between Formless Bearsloths and BornGosu. By the way, casting with me today is Coolbreeze. Say hi to everybody, Coolbreeze.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. All right, let's get it started off. Actually, my co-caster is probably going to get us started in the bottom right, if you could, please, sir.
Absolutely. Bottom right is going to be spawning as the Teal Zerg. Will be our Formless Bearsloths representative, Wabbits.
Wabbits. All right, and in the top left with the red trunks, we have our Protoss player, BornGosu Hunter. Okay, so this is a gold league match. I've played Wabbits in the past, and I believe Coolbreeze has as well. He's definitely very talented. I know he just recently got to gold, but he actually 2-0'd me in my own tournament, and I'm platinum myself. So I was very impressed with his ability to be aggressive early on and have good macro behind it. So let's see how this goes for him. I don't have a spoiler alert. I know how the actual end of this series between the two teams worked. However, I don't know how each individual match went, so haven't seen these before. Neither has Coolbreeze, so let's have a good one. So it looks like we have pretty standard opening from our Protoss player. Instead of doing a his wall towards the expansion, it looks like he's doing a wall on his main, just a little mini to keep out those zerglings. But we have a pretty fast expand coming from our zerg player, and with the spawning pool and single gas just for that zergling speed. So nothing overly cheesy or aggressive to start this off.
Absolutely. It is important to note that the timing on the pool was before the hatchery for Wabbits, and that is very trademark to his playstyle from the tournament. He does like to put out early aggression, and you will see probably in there they are the 6 lings on the production tab. Early game, he does like to put out that early pressure, and I'd say it's a safe bet for BornGosu's Hunter. If he is walling off at his main, he might be going for like a one base kind of a pressure. So I do like that early scout out of him. So he will know that the Zergling should be in production based on the fact that he did see, hopefully, I don't know, check his vision here real quick. He did see the pull down, and he did see the gas before the hatchery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he definitely knows that he's not going to have Zerglings in his base at any ridiculously early time. However, he does know that, I mean, just 2 bases, if he sees a third, that's whenever he knows they're being really greedy. But he does know that, I mean, if you're playing Zerg, you know you're going to have lings in your base, pretty soon. So let's see if he can get some units out to hopefully stop this early.
We do have a couple of adepts in production as well as warp gate technology. It looks like he did choose for an early mothership core, so it looks like he will be playing it a little on the safe side. 6 Zergling moving across the map, starting to enter the natural area, and hopefully they will be shut down by these adepts early on, so there is not too much damage done to the base.
Right. Of course, we say hopefully. Personally, I'm rooting for our Zerg player, but it looks like those adepts come out at the perfect timing. Probes pulled might have been a little bit of an overreaction. Because just the adepts in the mothership core would have taken care of those, maybe losing only one drone, and the lost mineral time here is pretty significant.
The scouting information gained by Wabbits from this move, though, is very nice, because he does know at this point in time that his opponent does not have an expansion down. He does see that he has 2 gateways, no tech as of yet, and it is important to note that the 3 pylons are down for our opponent, so it looks like, and there's the Stargate. It's going to say typical scouting technique for early game against Protoss is you always want to look for their 3rd pylon, because that's usually where the tech structures start going down.
Right. And this is an interesting build from a Protoss player. I see, usually whenever I see this sort of thing on 1 base aggression, I'd see 4 pool, but, 3 pool 1 Stargate against Zerg is obviously isn't bad. But in order to do that, an earlier expansion would probably make more sense, especially after you scout that they have an expansion, because you know that those 8 to 10 Zerglings that they're going to send at you early in game can be held off the Photon Overcharge and some Adepts. So that may, and you know, he got the Stalker out to get rid of the Overlord's scouting. It's always
Absolutely. I would like to make a note on this too, that Wabbits actually was a little sloppy with his Overlord placement. One thing that I did notice out of some of our more talented lower level Zerg players is that they're really good about making sure the Overlords are on the high ground above these little void spots,
right?
So that they have great scouting vision and they can't be shut down until Protoss comes in, or their opponent, Terran in this case, with air units. In fact, I would go so far, and I don't say this offensively, as to be a little bit disappointed in Wabbits, because I did play him twice in the series for your tournament. And the first time, I believe I 2-0'd him, and the second time, I want to say he 2-0'd me, but he's a very adaptable player, and he likes to play aggressive, so maybe he doesn't feel like there's as much pressure here, so he's not on point like he should be.
Right.
But the second time I played him, man, it wasn't fun. I did not have a good time. He does love the aggression.
So it looks like our Protoss player isn't actually looking to finish these these Overlords off, though, by bringing the Stalkers around. He's just trying to get them out of his base, so he hasn't lost any of the supply that would come from those little mini mistakes that could be made. So that's fortunate for our Zerg player. We do have the Oracle coming in. It looks like it's going to the mains mineral line. Let's see how the reaction. We have Queen in position, just slightly out, but it looks like he's... Okay, there we go. Only gets 1 kill from the main. Let's see how he does in the natural. Looks like he's getting pushed out.
I don't play Protoss, and pardon my ignorance here, but if an Oracle goes toe-to-toe with the Queen, the Oracle can beat the Queen, correct?
Yes, but it'll use literally all of its energy, so it would be kind of... by the time that and also the fight would take a long time, so by the time that fight is finished, another Queen would be there to finish the job, and it wouldn't really get any drone kills. So typically, I think the best case scenario, whenever you go and have an Oracle on a Zerg mineral line, is just a single target, about 4 or 5 drones, maybe get out of there, try it once your shields are regenerated, come back if there's not a Spore Crawler, and then for the rest of the game, just use it for stasis wards and for the vision. Looks like you do have a vision ward coming in, or a stasis ward.
He does get some good scouting information. That one Zergling will eat up that stasis ward, which is a really good move. And it looks like the Roach Ravager army for Wabbits will be moving in. I do believe that Hunter does have the units to hold this, but it looks like it might be pretty tight.
Mm-hmm. So we do have reinforcements coming in. I may have wanted to see those Roaches to be there to tank in front of these Ravengers ahead of time, especially with that Immortal, with that beautiful skin. Look at that beautiful Immortal skin. With those, because that'll definitely be able to hold off this army. But with those Roaches in there, that could have just been GG right out the gate. Especially if he's able to target fire that Immortal down early.
Absolutely. One thing I would like to say out of Hunter's playstyle that I really appreciate, after watching your tournament, and I know there's a lot of players that have just recently come back from Heart of the Swarm that haven't been playing it for a long time, is that I like that he gets a large unit count up and doesn't rely heavily on the wall, so he does have a certain amount of flexibility and mobility in addition to defensive options.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it definitely in this engagement we just saw with 2 Immortals out, that Photon Overcharge, and the Stalkers just do crazy damage to these guys. I think that he needs just many more Roaches, just a much larger army to engage this, especially those Immortals. He needs to do something to get rid of those. Let's see if there's a tech switch or something along those lines, because if he allows Hunter to get enough Immortal production going, which he's doing 2 at a time right now. That's definitely, Roach Ravager is not usually enough to get that, because they're just going to melt through those Roaches, and the Ravengers just will be so completely vulnerable for the Stalker shots.
Absolutely. Wabbits is positioning himself very well economically in this game. It looks like he is up Harvester count 49 to 39 against the Protoss player right now. He does have his third base up and running, and he is grabbing the gases probably a little early right now. I think you usually want to fully saturate your mineral lines first to make sure that you do have the minerals for your tech and production that you'll need. It looks like we have more Roaches on the way, which will definitely make this army a lot more robust. His Ravager count seems to be a little on the high side versus the Roaches, and I do believe the Roaches have more HP, and you need those for the tanking.
Exactly.
Throwing in a couple Zergling wouldn't hurt either, just to have a mineral dump and give yourself something to tank that.
So he still doesn't know about the third base for Wabbits. One thing actually that I would like if Wabbits watches this video, I think creep spread is something that could be worked on a little bit. Just 'cause that gives you map control. It's not just about the speed getting across the map quickly. It's also vision. I mean, it's free vision for you. They would have to. It gives them something to actually have to get an observer out to knock out, so that you don't see something coming. But guess what? You see that coming because you're killing their creep, and you have vision of pretty much half the map. And that's a huge advantage that Zerg has that I would really like to see a little bit more in some of the lower league play.
Absolutely. If it came down to choosing between creep spread and macro, I think Wabbits did make the good choice in going for his decent macro. It looks like he is almost fully saturated his third base with both gases taken, and he is making his push out here, which is good. This Stasis Ward
with a fourth coming behind it, and he's going to be able to cancel this third. This is huge.
Absolutely. The Stasis Wards are in a fantastic position that would have stopped a great push to the natural. He does get the cancel, and he is in a decent position to engage this army. There are a lot of Immortals. I don't know if
it's a friendly fire
enough, and he is eating those vials in the face. First Stasis Ward goes down. He's going to be fighting half and half. Right now is the time Hunter needs to push in and take advantage of those wards. He can fight this army in two phases.
Right, now's a great time to back off, maybe at least try to keep them away from your army, because once those Stasis Wards come off, he would have a minor advantage, but now it's just time to get out of dodge. He does have some Hydralisks coming in. It's an interesting tech choice. I'm not sure Hydralisks how they fare against Immortals. I mean, I'm assuming Immortals are just such a good ground pounder unit, but he does have.
Sorry, they have a really high DPS but really low HP, so they're not a good skirmisher unit. But they synergize really well with Roaches because their range is a little bit higher, and I believe if you get Groove Spines, it gives them a 6 range versus the Roaches 4. So even though with their size, they're able to kind of shoot over their backs.
You're right. So one thing also, since we're giving a little advice here, as a Protoss player, especially when I'm fighting Zerg and it's ground army versus ground army like this, I'm going to start getting paranoid because as soon as they start seeing me tanking out so many Immortals, I just know Mutalisks are on their way. Another thing is upgrades. It looks like we don't have a single upgrade for the Protoss player when it comes to his damage. Let's see, actually going to the upgrades tab. The only upgrade is Warp Gate. He needs to get maybe some Blink Stalkers, who are huge in this matchup, especially if you're doing the Roach Ravager situation, because you want to be able to Blink Micro yourself away. Oh, that Oracle's getting taken out in the middle. He has a Ninja third coming in. That's pretty interesting. But whenever you're going against even an O2 army, so it's super squishy and it's a little glass cannony, that's going to melt through an army, despite how numerous of an army you have. Because he definitely had the numbers game earlier, but the upgrades are favoring our Zerg player a lot.
Absolutely. Interesting side note, and this is something I learned about the meta last week, is that most pro players in the meta game has shifted now in Legacy of the Void that you typically want to favor your attack upgrades over defensive upgrades, because a lot of the new Legacy of the Void units, for example, Adepts will two-shot Marines that get stimmed as soon as they have the level 1 weapons upgrade. So a lot of units like that are just, the damage is just right on that cusp where they can go from a 3-shot to a 2-shot or a 4-shot to 3-shot.
Oh, huge Disruptor Orb in. Wow, I was wondering, just a second, I just didn't want to interrupt you, but I mean, what was the purpose of getting these? But look at the damage he's able to do with those. It may be a little too late, as a natural is falling, and even with the Ninja Third, there's not a mining base right now. This only has, it's running out of minerals. I'm certainly not going to try to do any math on stream. Another huge Disruptor. Oh, that is game changing.
At the risk of sounding like Diva, your army is taking damage. Terrible damage.
He's able. It looks like it's still, despite those massive Disruptor hits, our Zerg player is still just over brute force able to get through. We get the GG from Hunter, and it looks like the first game of our series is over. So, I thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please check out my other videos if you like what you saw. Don't feel afraid to hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. There will be a link in the description as well. And please follow Coolbreeze. He's he's a great channel, especially if you're a Zerg player. Very instructional. You can learn how to play the game very well just by watching this man play. So y'all take care. Thank you so much.